What's up, Internet people? My name is Max. This is Adventist Youth Ontario, and today we are talking about not conforming to the world. Here we go. There is a really well-known verse in the book of Romans, chapter 12, and it is Romans 12, verse 2. It says, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect." This is, of course, right after the famous offer yourselves as living sacrifices passage in the first verse. We know Romans 12 pretty well, or so we think. Knowing the verse and living it are two different challenges. The more well-known translation of that, I guess, is do not be conformed to the pattern of this world. Same idea, don't conform to the world. We know the world does things like this, and Jesus teaches us that our lives are going to look a different way. We're going to do things like this. And so we understand more or less, at least conceptually, what it means to not conform to the world. But there is an area where I think we're struggling, and that has to do with kind of this new reality we're facing with the internet, especially with the proliferation and just massive expansion of social media kind of consuming every area of our lives. Some of us forget how to be Christians online. This I find really personal because of what I do, because I work for the church in regards to social media. I find myself constantly being aware of the kinds of discussions that are had online and the kinds of interactions people have. One of the funny things that happens to me a lot is I'm managing the Ontario Conference's Facebook page. I get messages all the time from people who aren't from Ontario, not even from Canada, from completely other places in the world, in Southeast Asia, in Africa, and various places. And these people are messaging, wanting to know how they can get involved with the Ontario Conference. And it's just funny because you don't live here. There's probably a local Seventh-day Adventist conference where you live that you could be involved in. It's really funny for me because some people have a much more, I guess, blunt and direct way of asking for things. So people will say, help me come to Canada, or like, you know, help me get into a school. And I'm like, man, I can't help you. So yeah, it's just funny because I'm constantly getting these messages from people asking for things that I know I can't provide, that the conference can't really provide. It's not gonna happen. And so I find myself having to respond to these requests and be polite and do it in a way that maintains a healthy conversation but also communicates what can and can't be done. It was really funny because there was one interaction I had with someone that I thought was it was interesting. Basically, this guy messaged the youth department Facebook page and said, help me find admission from a dental school in Canada. How? So basically, I just tried to give as polite of an answer as I could and say like, oh yeah, well, that's not really a thing we do. You know, we're the youth department of a church. We are not an educational institution. We don't help people get into grad school. Like, that's not really a thing we do. And I wrote it as nicely and politely as I could. And the response I received back was actually really interesting. He said to me, "Thank you for your answer. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist member. I enjoy your manner of answering people. You are a real Adventist. God bless you." And I laughed. I will admit that I laughed the first time I read that, because it's like, what a strange way to come about affirming someone's Adventism. I enjoy your way of answering people. You are a real Adventist. But it got me thinking, what makes you a real Adventist? And obviously, doctrine matters, beliefs matters. We have systematic theology and these ideas that constitute us as a people. But I think one really important piece of what makes us believers and followers of Jesus that we should be recognized for is how we treat people. It's really easy in this day and age of the internet to get careless about how we talk to people online and to treat people like they're just a screen name rather than an actual person. If you're on social media, you've probably seen a debate or an argument that's, you know, pretty intense. That doesn't look good on us when we participate in that kind of stuff, especially when the language gets so heated and angry. We should be careful to treat people the way we would want to be treated, and that includes in the digital realm. It's so easy in this world to just think of others as not real people and treat them like less than people. And as Christians, part of our identity should be resisting that and saying, no, I'm going to not be conformed to the way the world acts on the internet. I'm going to treat people like people, no matter who they are, no matter what their opinions are, no matter what kind of discussion I encounter them in. 1 Peter 3:15 says, to sanctify Christ in your heart as Lord, and always be ready to give a response to anyone who asks for a reason for the hope that is in you. Have that theological debate, have that discussion for sure, but at the end of that verse, 1 Peter 3:15 says, do this with gentleness and respect. In Colossians 4 verses 5 and 6, Paul tells us to walk in wisdom towards outsiders and to let our speech always be gracious, so that we could know how to answer each person. You look at Ephesians 2:29 that says, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only use what is good for building people up. I think we spend so much time being overly careful about not saying the bad words, which are arbitrarily assigned meanings, while being really kind of quick to speak in a way that tears people down and being rude and unkind towards each other. And that's something we really need to think about. Thinking on this topic actually reminds me of a song I really like. It's by Hawk Nelson, and the song is called Words. In the chorus of that song, speaking to God, the lyrics say, let my words be life, let my words be truth. I don't want to say a word unless it points the world back to you. So that's a challenge to you for today. Be mindful of how you speak to people. Be careful how you speak to people, and always remember that Jesus said, however you treated the least person, the smallest, most insignificant person, that random name that pops up online, that's how you've treated him. Thank you for tuning into our devotional reflection vlogs. I know this one's probably a bit shorter than some of the other ones we've done, but short and sweet, it works. If you have any topics you'd like to hear reflected on in this video series we're doing, just leave that in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel and make sure you just stay informed about all the stuff we've got going on here in Ontario. And we'll see you again next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye. I said bye.